Welcome to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan French from Nova Home Loans, and I am here again today with Chuckits Crusoe from Simply Vegas. What's going on today, Chuckits?
Nothing much, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you? We got Nathan White, Summit Homes of Nevada. What's going on today, Nathan?
Not much. Thank you guys for having me.
We appreciate you coming on to the show. We have a great show for you today. As always, it's a privilege and a pleasure to educate the Las Vegas community. Isn't that right, Chuck?
You're absolutely right.
I want to let everybody know out there, this show was really put together to provide education and confidence to anyone looking to purchase a home. We do not present on here how much money we make or how successful our team is, but we really try to educate the consumer by providing content that will allow you to be confident and ready to buy a home when you're ready. Let's start off with the question that I get a ton of times since really last week, but throughout, I guess, this whole year is now a good time to buy? And I remember when I bought my home, I was a little skeptical. I was thinking, well, is it a good time to buy? The market was depreciating, and it was really a little bit after the, we can say the recession part of 2009, right in that area. And, I said, what, I'm going to do it. And I did it. I had value that dropped. I was actually underwater on my home, considering thinking about short selling my house, but I kept my home. And why I did that, really, I just felt like, I took an obligation. I need to honor that obligation. Now my home has appreciated and I have equity. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is if you're looking out there at the housing inventory and the number of homes being built, this would imply that this is a good time to buy a home. If you look at interest rates and what they're doing and how cheap money is right now, this is another indication of why it's a good time to buy a home. But you also got to look at this. You have to look at, is the timing right in your life to purchase a home? Just because we do a financing and real estate show, that does not mean now's the time for you. I mean, is it a good time to buy? Yes. But you have to look at that idea that it's the timing in your life is important, because it really will dictate what happens in the future. You want to be in a good place. You want to be in a good position. Is it a smart business move? Of course it is. But again, it's not just about business. It's about your personal decision. And I think if you're an investor out there, this might not pertain to you, but anyone that's ever owned a home or is maybe a first-time home buyer, you really need to gather all the information. This is millennials or baby boomers. Gather all the information from this show, and you need to make the decision for yourself if you want to invest in a property or wait when the time feels right. What do you think about that?
That absolutely makes sense. I mean, here's the thing. Again, and we always talk about this, you don't want to be the person that's sitting on the sideline and everybody's getting a home, and you could have got a home and it could have made sense for you at that time.
You have a lot of...
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and I think, Chuck, you have a lot of people out there that are constantly pushing, buy a home, rates are great. Yeah, they are. But that doesn't mean you're in a good position. Maybe you mentally have to be there too. And that's important as a consumer. You need to be 2 feet into this, not be on the fence back and forth and saying, should I or shouldn't I?
Yeah. And we have clients where we get them approved and they have their certain dollar amount, but you know what? Sometimes those homes may not exist, or they decide, hey, I'm going to rent for now and I want to see what's going to take place. But at least they know where they're at financially and they are ready to go when the time is right for them. Because here's the thing, when the time is right for you, you don't want to get out into the marketplace. Next thing you know it, you can't get that home because you're not financed or you're not ready to go.
That's absolutely true. Let's go over to news and events. Chuck, you got any news and events going on?
News and events. I was actually reading this article about how to trick yourself to pay down your debt. I was reading this article, but I thought it was very funny. But the amazing thing that I found out was that a lot of people in Nevada owe an average about $15,000 on their credit card debt, and they're living from check to check.
That's amazing.
That's kind of sad.
Well, I think there's a lot of uncertainty still. You have the increase in employment, which has helped.
Yeah.
But you still have people out there that are still maybe struggling to try to get ahead. And, I think, if you're somebody out there that's one of these people and you put some, like I've said before, some nickels together, and this is something that you really are looking to do, but you really can't get a down payment. Well, I told you about that grant program.
A lot of
And
people utilize that. And
that's
it makes
important.
Sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pay rent, which you have to anyways, most people don't. They have to have somewhere to live.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have to find a way to do that. And if you have a chance to get into a mortgage, which is really cheaper in most situations.
It really is because, I mean, here's the thing. I have a property right now, okay? My mortgage is less than $1,000 a month. If I decided to sell that home and to take that equity and go buy another home, I mean, I'm sorry, if I decided to go rent another home, it's $1,600 a month just to rent in my subdivision.
That's a lot.
That's big.
That's throwing money away too, really. I mean, when you look at the interest write-off, usually the interest rates, because money's cheap, and we're going to get into that, still, it still makes sense to go out and get a mortgage.
Yes. And keep in mind, as interest rates increase, and I'm sure they will increase in the near future, you're going to lose your purchasing power. So
yeah,
keep that in mind.
that is true, because now you're qualifying for less if you're getting a loan, and that's a big deal. Also, we have, do you have anything else?
No, go ahead. Shoot off.
We have a NBA Summer League going on at the Thomas and Mack, 24 teams to compete with new prospects. This is going on. They do this every year. I think if you're a basketball fan, that's a great place to go out and look and maybe see some future basketball players that's going to be coming into the NBA next year.
Aren't you trying out for something like that?
Not when you're 6 foot. Also, we have the Ultimate Fighter finale tonight at the MGM at 3 p.m. Do you know about this?
No.
I'll tell you right now, it's going on, and it's the finale of that Ultimate Fighter that's going on. And I know that they had the
fight last night, right?
No, it's different. This is the Ultimate Fighter finale.
Oh, okay.
Last night was different because that was an actual UFC event, yeah. And McGregor won that one. That was pretty good. I heard the fight before that was good too. Robbie Lawler, I think that was a good fight.
Gotcha.
Also, we're going to jump over to some financing news here, Chuck. Back in February, the Collingwood Group wrote a new housing plan that provided a new survey. Finds out that mortgage and housing industry professionals believe recent announcement to reduce the price of FHA annual premiums had a minimal impact on the size of home purchase in the market.
Wow.
So it didn't really do what they thought it was going to do by lowering the monthly mortgage insurance on FHA loans. It still helped. You know, if you're out there and you're somebody that is doing an FHA or has the ability to do an FHA streamline refinance, this would help you.
Yeah.
But as far as somebody purchasing a home, it didn't really do what they thought. I think they were looking at like 250,000 would take advantage of this situation, and it's actually been less than they thought it would be. So that's something to look at. Also, Fannie Mae standard modifications interest rate adjustment. Fannie Mae is adjusting the Fannie Mae standard modification interest rate required for all Fannie Mae conventional mortgage loan modifications, excluding Fannie Mae HAMP modifications. So they're going to make changes to this as far as how you can provide the interest rate on those, except for HAMP. To me, loan modifications really just they're not good. They don't usually work. It usually affects you. We can still get a loan in some cases on a loan modification, but you got to show me the paperwork. I got to see what's involved, because it isn't looked at as harsh as a let's say a short sale.
Yeah.
But it's still something that you have to address. And if there's something in that paperwork that shows you owe the bank something, there's deficiencies somewhere, you have to pay that back. We have to hit you for that.
So it just makes it that much harder versus if you just did the short sale now. As far as the strategic short sale, you can hurry up and just get that eliminated and just kind of like moving on with your life at that point.
I would say so. Your credit score would get a quicker increase on a short sale. I think that the loan modifications are extended and they take time, and you have to be late multiple times before there's a hardship. So, yeah, I don't think it's always the best route. That's just me.
And again, this may or may not work for you, and it's case-by-case basis, and this is where you sit down, write the numbers, and plan out your life to see if it even makes sense.
That's true. Also, this week in USA BMX Las Vegas Grand National Bike Race all weekend at the South Point Hotel in the arena there. That's going on for this whole weekend. Also, we also have the did you know that locals can go to any hotel, and if they present their ID, that they can get in there into a pool?
Not at the MGM.
Well, you got a small fee. I'll tell you this, though. I got to start doing some push-ups in the hallway, because if I'm going to go out and start showing off, man, I got to look pumped.
Nah, you got to work on them abs. That's what you got to work on.
What do you mean, my ab?
Your ab, your keg.
It's always good to have one ab. At least you can say you have something, right?
Yeah.
So if you guys have any questions regarding the show, you can call in studio 257-5396. You can schedule a free 30-minute consultation by going and calling 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. If you want to tweet us, you can tweet us at 781-NOVA. Or Chuck, we have put together a great website. There's a lot of things to offer on this as a consumer. Again, tell us about that.
781novo.com was created to educate buyers, sellers in the Las Vegas Valley. This website features educational videos, past shows, weekly market stats, selling, buying, and all loan programs. Start your home search today at 781nova.com.
I mean, you can go there and you can fill out an application for me. They can get in contact with you.
You can start looking at homes.
Anything. I mean, you can see people that have been on past shows that maybe it's something that if it's bankruptcy or if it's a CPA, anybody that has been on this show has also been on there. And if you were comfortable, if you're listening to the show as an audience, you're comfortable with these people, then guess what? I would reach out and call them. Why not?
Doesn't hurt.
Also, we're going to give away a free appraisal and free home inspection. We've done this before. This has now happened a few times now. I highly recommend it. If you call in outside studio or if you just go onto our website and fill out the application, I can tell you right now, we give everybody a free appraisal and free home inspection if you fill out information that says you listen to the show. And I think that's very important. We also give away a free lunch for two to P.F. Chang's. And I think, people have dined on us. I like P.F. Chang's. I'm assuming at some point we'll change that up. But for right now, that's the location. Let's do the market rundown. Are you ready for this, Chuck?
I'm always ready.
As always, we start out with financing news and events. You got housing market statistics, interest rate trending. We're going to talk to Nathan White from Summit Homes of Nevada. We're going to talk also about new home defect rules. I think this is a good thing for him since he's here. And then we're going to finish off with the lender versus realtor face-off. If you have any questions regarding real estate or financing and you would like to get those answered, call us at 702-257-5396. Chuck, what's going on with the housing market?
Housing market, the overall inventory has increased by 4.2%. In addition to home sales declined by 32.6% due to a 4.5% increase in traditional sales coming up on the market. Okay, we are selling an average of 544 homes a week. Okay. We actually have a 4.5 month supply of inventory at this time. The total inventory, according to the multiple listing service, we have a total of 9,974 properties. Traditional sales, we're at 8,707 properties at a 87.9% of market share. Short sales are at 955 on the market at a 9.5% market share, and bank loan properties at 312 properties currently listed on the market at 3.1% of market share at this time.
Is it harder at this point to get offers accepted? What is consumers out there, when you tell them this information, there's something out there that everybody can take from that. What is it that they would benefit, and what are they looking for when they're working with you as far as, hey, if you're going for a short sale, what is the time frame?
Okay, so here's the thing. What I've noticed, the inventory is starting to increase. We're about to hit the 10,000 mark. Okay. What this shows is that a lot of homeowners that actually do have equity, they're actually putting their properties on the market. But we are not selling these homes fast enough because they are overpriced. Okay.
Still. Okay.
Some of them are priced correctly. That's when the agent educates that seller to let them know, hey, this is where we need to be to sell the home. Sometimes, again, agents will take a listing to beat up the seller after the property's been on the market for some time. Okay. Now, here's the thing. If you are a buyer out here, this information is great for you. Okay. So that way, when you're out in the marketplace, you know how to write an offer. You know how to look at a property and identify it, because you don't want to waste time by throwing this deal into contract, getting emotionally involved. You're paying for the inspection and the appraisal, knowing that this deal is not going to go through. Because if the seller's not willing to drop the price, at the end of the day, you lose. Okay?
That's right.
So if you're out in the marketplace with short sales, the good news about it is a buyer wants to move in a home within 45 days of a fully executed contract. Okay. So if you're in a position in your life where you don't have to get in the home within 10 days, you're willing to wait out 6 months, okay, you're going to have that much leverage, because the homes that are actually short sales, nobody wants to get into. So you're going to have more options and you can be picky. And those are the ones that are a lot cleaner, nicer.
Right.
And you can make that offer, and you could possibly offer, $5,000 less, knowing that if the banks do come up later on, that you can offer them a full price, but you can start off with a lower price. So those are the benefits.
I got you. So let me say this. You're in a price range that maybe is a little bit, it's below the average median price.
$215.
Yeah. So if you're, say, 150 to $200, this might be a good opportunity because now you can get that offer accepted.
That's correct.
Because you're taking the short sale, which they don't have a ton of offers on, and you're not bought out of the market.
You're absolutely right. Now, keep in mind, just because you have an offer on one short sale, it doesn't mean that you have to sit and wait.
Okay.
Part of our strategy is that what we're going to do is we're going to put you into a short sale. We'll tie you up in this property, but you got to make sure that when we tie you up, we're tying your earnest money deposit up. Is this the property that you really like? Okay?
Right.
While we tie this one up, we're still back out in the marketplace looking at traditional sales and bank-owned properties and submitting offers, because if we can get that deal done, we'll cancel out of that short sale, pull your earnest money deposit out, and close on the other deal. So that's part of our strategy.
Okay. Let's go over to interest rates trending. Mortgage bond prices finished the week lower, which pushed upward pressure on rates. Rates were positive the first portion of the week, tied to the Greek debt concerns. We talked about that. Remember, this is news that's not good, so it's usually good for mortgage rates.
Yeah.
Investors feared uncertainty in the Eurozone, which resulted in flight to quality buying of mortgage-backed securities. What flight to quality is, it occurs when investors sell what they perceive to be higher-risk investments and purchase safe investments, really, such as U.S. Treasuries or gold. We've talked about the gold and how that's increased. The Greek finance minister resigned after Greek voters rejected a proposal that required more measures as far as getting this fixed. Trading was volatile through the week amid little data and various news reports about progress towards a Greek debt restructuring agreement. Weekly jobless claims, we've talked about this, were 297 versus the expected 275. This was rate friendly, but because the counter with the Eurozone developments, this did not help rates in the end. So really, stocks experienced 100-point swings from day to day. And the stock market, we looked at this, actually shut down for a few hours last week.
So what does all this mean?
Well, it just means there's a lot of uncertainty. We have Greek issues. Usually when there's bad news in the mortgage industry, or not in the mortgage, but in the news or in the world, it's usually good for rates. But because there's other things that's involved, it's not giving us those rate-friendly projections that we're looking at.
Yeah.
And I think what's going on, too, is that even though we've gained pricing in some ways, overall, we're still losing pricing because of other factors that's coming into play. I mean, if you look at it, you have mortgage interest rates that finished worse by an eighth to a quarter of a discount point last week. And I thought, listen, a week ago we were okay. We took a little bit of a hiccup. We paused on the increase in rates. But you know what? Overall, they're continuing to go up. Even though we have a good week, if you have 3 bad weeks, overall, it's still looking like, rates are going to keep going up. I've seen September, 50-50 chance. I've said it before. I really think they're going to start. I don't think they're going to go up to 6%, 5.5%, 6%, but they're going to keep increasing. I don't know where all that's going as far as where it's actually going to be ending at the end of the year, but I do think they're going to go up, but they still got to stay low enough for our housing market to thrive.
Yeah.
And they have to have people where they have the ability to push them and go to get financing from banks, and people aren't going to do that once they see, or if they see a huge increase all at once, especially, but even overall.
So this could be for a while then.
Well, it could be for a while, but it's going to be a slow, gradual thing. I think I think the government knows what they're doing, because it's like the housing market. When you go from all these properties are available to now everybody's foreclosing and short selling, and now they have them all out there to be sold or short sold, it caused havoc. And I think if you slowly build that interest rate going up, it's not such a huge problem with people where they're just like, oh my God, I can't. They're adapting to what the economy and what the interest rate levels are going.
Got it.
I think that's important. Let's go over and talk to Nathan White over here at Nevada Homes of Nevada.
Summit Homes.
Summit Homes. Summit Homes of Nevada. Nathan, we appreciate you coming on today, man.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And I wanted to ask you, Summit Homes, how long have you guys been around?
Summit Homes is a locally owned and privately held home building company in the Valley. Our story really starts with my father, Don White, who started pageantry in the early 1990s. Between 1990 and about 2008, we were able to build about 8,000 homes. And then about 2010, the second generation, my siblings and I started up Summit Homes.
Gotcha. So if you look at the idea of where new home build is going, this has been like a year of new home build. And I just wanted to tell you that every single week we've got things in the, emails and things that increases in how much production is going on with, permits being purchased. You have homes out there that's really now available to people that they can really put together the type of home that they want. And I think with your situation, tell me a little bit of your, I guess, what's the difference between your company versus another builder that's out there?
One of the main differences between us and some of the other home building companies is that we have bought a lot of properties that are infill properties.
Okay.
They are in areas that are predominantly built out and mostly just have resale communities in it. So
yeah,
they're generally pretty small because they're the pieces that have been left over and we've been able to acquire them. Maybe between 20 to 40 lots.
What's an infill property?
Infill is something that is basically not on the fringe where all the home building is being built. There is basically all built out around it. All the commercial, all the homes around it have been built out, and it's just a piece of property, a vacant piece of property that's been passed over.
Isn't there a premium price, something like that, when you purchase something like that, though?
Sometimes. A lot of times they've been passed over because there have been challenges on the site or maybe the ownership has changed over time and allowed it to now be open to be sold.
Got it.
How many homes has Summit Homes sold? Like how many have they built and sold?
Right now we have 6 actively communities in the Valley, and we've sold about 100 this year.
Wow.
We anticipate probably closing about 150 to 175 homes this year.
That's big.
That is big. You guys, I know they do this rating thing. You guys are in the top.
Yeah, we're hoping to be in the top maybe the 12th, 13th builder in the city this year.
Okay, so let's go through the process, all right? We look at the consumer standpoint. I'm going in and I'm saying, okay, well, I want to buy a new home because I can't find an existing home. It does happen. It's happened quite a bit. Take me through the process of what somebody is looking at when they enter Summit Homes, and what is A to Z, what do they deal with?
Well, first thing is the separation between a resale and a new home. Resale, there are some advantages to resale. You get to see what the project and the community will look like when it's built out. You also usually don't have extra expenses afterwards. And what I mean by that is sometimes when you buy a new home, you may have to finish the backyard. You may have window coverings. All that may be done in a resale. However, on a new home, what you get is you get more efficient. It's built more efficiently with the new codes. You get warranties and you get brand new. So there are advantages to both. And on a new home, the process is sometimes more timely because oftentimes when you go into a sales office, the home may not be started yet. So you could be farther out because right now it's taking about 4 to 5 months to build a house. And so it all depends on timing as well. Sometimes there's homes that are under construction or maybe are standing that can be moved in pretty quickly. But in general, right now, when you buy a house, it's going to take longer to build it from scratch than obviously you would do in the resale marketplace.
One of the great things about buying a new home is that you really do have the option on picking all your amenities that you want, and if you want lights at a certain position, walls, and all that stuff like that, and that's one of the best things about new homes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can customize a house, and that is one of the advantages to buying a new home.
What I was going to tell you too is that you have a certain target of buyers. What is the price range that you guys look at?
Our projects are mostly first-time home buyers. Most of our projects are under $300,000, and even starting as low as I think $205,000 up in the Northwest. And so they generally our product is more targeting the first-time home owner and maybe the first-time move-up.
I think that's good because it really, you're a first-time home buyer, but we want to hit all facets on the show for people that are listening and maybe want to get any education. So for the first-time home buyer, we deal with a lot of them. We've had a lot of them come into the market. That's good news for them because they probably think that they're bought out too, because we've been telling on the show the average median price is $312,000. Well, if they know they can go get a new home at $205,000, that's big, and I think that's important. So,
But location does play a part too as well. So just don't be misled by what we're saying right now that, hey, you can get a home at $215, but if you're looking at a home for $215 in the south side of town, that's probably not going to happen at this time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the location does play a part. In the Southwest, we have a project, and it's probably closer to the 250, 260 range. And that again, on a new home, you got to realize that is the base price.
That's
and
that's a great deal.
this is Dan French with the Market Snapshot, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan French from Nova Home Loans, and I'm here again with Chuck Crusoe from Simply Vegas. Also, we have a special guest, Nathan White from Summit Homes of Nevada. Chuck, why are you putting these shades on, man? These Ray-Bans. He's trying to become the
Poker
millionaire
player.
No, it's the millionaire real estate. He's been taking notes at 1 o'clock in the morning.
It's hot up in here.
Hey, you look good in pink today, though.
I appreciate that.
Pink and purple. I don't think that's ever been a combination for us, but we're trying it out, huh?
That doesn't seem too good.
Let's go right back in with Nathan. We're going to talk some things about the process of purchasing a new home, and we talked about it a little bit here with him. Nathan, give us a little bit more on what buyers look at when they're going in and getting the experience from Summit Homes.
And, you know, this is a pretty intimidating process for a lot of people, especially our home buyers if they're first-time home buyers. But what we do is we try and make it as easy as possible. From the minute you walk into our sales office, you'll be greeted by a sales consultant. Mm-hmm. Now, their job is to really present the product, give an overview of the project in the area, and kind of build a relationship with the visitor and the potential buyer, and ultimately sell them a house. The first thing that they always try and do is they try and emphasize for them to talk to a lender. It's critical that they do talk to a lender because from there they can figure out how much they can qualify for, payments they can expect, and what kind of money that they would require down. Once they decide to buy a house after visiting the site a couple times, they go through the contract process. And after that process is finished, they then get to wait for the house to be built, and depending on when it is, what stage it's under, they will get to customize the house and meet the construction team and go through the process until they get a newly built home at the end.
So I take it there's different stages as the home's getting built. And once you get to one stage, is this where the client comes back in and meets with the cabinet guy and, you know, the electrician, or?
Absolutely. There's different stages when you're building a home, and there's cutoff points is the way we refer them to. And that's when options need to be selected. And that's usually driven on when they're being built or when they need to be ordered to be in time to finish it.
You're talking about cutoff points. How many cutoff points are there?
We have 3 cutoff points.
Okay.
And it's usually right in the beginning when you before you start. You know, you have structural components of the house such as bedrooms and bathrooms, and so that starts before the slab is poured. And then you have a second cutoff where you do some more cosmetic stuff with cabinets, ordering, and then really anything you'd like on a house that's feasible that we can do will fit into a certain cutoff time.
Got it.
There's a lot of value too with having to choose or having the ability to choose the home with the amenities that you want. A lot of people that go out there, I mean, we've talked about short sales, we've talked about other facets of looking for a home, but if you look at the situation where most existing homes, a lot of them are still not going to be move-in ready. And here's the thing, a lot of them will only have that 7 or 8 out of 10 things that you really want. Where if you buy a new home, a lot of times you're getting everything that you want.
Yeah, it is. That's one of the advantage. Obviously, the main advantage of buying a new home is that you can build it how you want it, and you get to go to design centers and pick out how you like it to look at the end, and you got the model to look at and view some of the options of how they'll look at a finished product, and so it's one of the main reasons why people.
So, are there only a few options that you can pick, or let's just say if you were looking at flooring, but you decided that, hey, the flooring that you don't have, I'm not too happy with it. I want to go with this design. I mean, how does that come to play?
No, there's a whole book of options. I mean,
okay.
there's flooring. You can we generally have cut lines where we would suggest where tile and carpet would transition, but we can change all that and any of that. So
Got it.
there's tons of options from stair railing to cable outlets to everything.
All I hear is ching 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 ching.
I want a home movie theater.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I want that you got stadium seating. Got the lounge coming out. You know what I mean? You got the
2 stripper poles.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Just kidding.
That's the man cave. So if you look at the situation with you, all right, and you say, well, is there still a ton of traffic, obviously, right, coming to new homes right now?
Yes, we generally market with signage, with the newspaper and radio ads, and the traffic generally comes to us, and then that's when we present the product, and oftentimes they are connected with a realtor, and that can help the process as well. And I would recommend people, especially if they're not familiar with the process, to talk to some sort of realtor to help them and guide them through the.
And that's a big deal, because what tends to happen, I notice, is when you sit down with your client, you're going through the consultation, it's very important that you educate your buyers to let them know that, hey, before you go to new homes, this is how the process works. You have to take me with you. If not, what happens is they will register you, and I can no longer represent you as my client. So that's very important.
That is very important. I want to put in a request.
What's that?
Casinos always have these misters. Can you put misters at Summit Homes so I can go there and I can be cool at the same time? Or
We haven't done that, but I imagine we could.
there you go.
They could do whatever you want.
There you go. All right. So also, let's look at the idea if you have a homeowners association. Now, a lot of new home builders have HOAs that's involved.
Yeah, and actually most new projects do have that, and that's because if the streets are private, they need to be managed by an HOA. There's also common landscaping strips, so they need to be managed by HOA. But there's more than just HOA that you need to be the community HOA. When you're looking and evaluating properties or communities, you need to also understand if there's a master HOA, if it's a master plan like Mountain's Edge, Summerlin, or Providence. They're also going to have a master HOA. That's going to pay for some of the parks and some of the other things that they offer. You also have SIDs sometimes with master plans. So it's important and critical that everyone has a complete picture of what their payments are going to be, and that's really the job of the sales consultants at the sales office to relay that message.
Let's go to SID real quick. What is that?
That's a special improvement district, and what that is that is basically a bond that was placed on the property. It's a bond that was placed on the property, and it to bring the infrastructure, whether it be power, sewer, and water, up to that area. And unfortunately, that is usually encumbers the property and the homeowner for a certain period of time.
So let's just say if you had 10 parcels, you build walls, you bring all the easements to it. So what happens is there's a fee in place, and they break it off equally to all the new owners. Is that correct?
Yes, there's a cost that's pushed on to homeowners. And
I get a lot of buyers too that they're fickle. They're on the fence. They don't know what they want, and they're I've been in the loan process, and they're getting the appraisal order, and they're like, whoa, wait. We need to stop because I'm not really comfortable with this house anymore. The people around it, I don't like the neighbors, something wrong with the home. Let's say that they're in a process with you with a new home. Let's say that they decide that they do want something changed or they want an upgrade. Is that something that's hard to deal with?
It all depends on what upgrade it is. And there are cutoff dates that we have, but if there is something that someone wants to do after that, we do have a process in place to where we can accommodate that buyer.
Very easy process probably, right?
It is an easy process. It's whether it is something that can be done or can't be done. If it has to do with, a structural component, there are times when we can't accommodate it. But if it's just something that can be done, then we try and accommodate that home buyer.
Chuck, you're a realtor, okay? You have a client that's out there. They're looking to buy a new home. They're saying, well, I want to put an offer in. Do you have to negotiate these offers with these new builders right now? Or is it something that once you put it in, if they're qualified or they got cash or whatever they got, they're going to get that home pretty much?
Well, it just depends. It depends on my client's situation. If we have to ask for closing costs, then we will ask for closing costs. And this is where we sit down with the sales manager and we try to figure something out where it actually works on both sides. So it's just not, hey, we go in and we got to give them what they're asking for, because there's always room to negotiate. Am I correct?
You know, most new home sites and projects do offer some sort of incentive. And,
Okay.
and most of all of our projects, actually all of our projects do offer a seller will pay your closing costs. And so, you know, there is room to negotiate sometimes. It's usually when the home is farther along in the process, maybe it fell out of escrow. Generally in new homes, there's less negotiations than there are in the resale.
I can say this. I've heard that some builders, maybe it's the economy here in Las Vegas. Maybe it's because it's thriving a little bit. But the builders out there are not giving as much incentive. They're still giving them, but not as much. Why is that occurring? And is that something that you think will change in the future?
It probably is market driven that, you know, when there's more demand, there's less incentive to entice home buyers out there.
That's actually correct, because when they start giving out incentives, that tells you that the market is starting to get harder and harder. But when they're not giving you nothing, that means, hey,
Yeah, they're
the
trying to
economy's
attract.
good.
They're trying to attract those buyers to come in. Hey, we're going to give you this. We'll give you 10,000, whatever it is, upgrades, doesn't matter. But you can come in, and we're going to give this to you. And you know, if other builders are not doing it, then you're going to have that foot in the door, or you're going to have that little bit of an edge if they're trying to pick a home.
Yeah.
And it is one of the advantages to new homes over resales. Usually the builder or the seller usually does contribute something, whereas in resale, that's less likely to occur.
Yeah.
It can happen, but it's less likely.
So let me say one other thing. Now, we've had other things on the show pertaining to energy efficiency and some of these upgrades that you can get with your home. Do you guys even offer those?
You know, what's happened in the last several years, every couple of years you have code updates. And what that means is that the cities and counties adopt a new building code. And what's happened recently is that the 2012 International Building Code has been adopted. That has led most builders to building a very high energy efficient home. There's better quality windows, there's more insulation, the roofs are built a little differently. So there's a ton of energy efficiency being built in new homes right now. And there are some options to where you can expand upon that, but just the base home today is being built very energy efficient.
I'm sure when they put that in place, it's probably going to cost a little bit more.
It does.
You guys have bulletproof windows?
Maybe as an option.
Oh,
Hey, I want a bowling alley. That's what I want.
Hopefully our projects are in markets that don't need that.
you just say sign the line and we'll get it done. That's what Summit's all about. Sign it, we're going to get it done, all right? It's good. So if somebody wants to get more information on Summit Homes, and maybe they want to find out more information from how to contact somebody to get started on the process, how does that happen?
Yeah, please, the best thing to do would be to go on our website. That's www.summithomesnv.com. That will direct where we have projects. And then the next thing to do is either call the sales office or visit them. And then they can talk to the sales consultant directly.
Also, we have his full contact information at 781nova.com. Navigation bar at radio show, guest speaker. Just click on that and we'll have his full information.
And his picture.
And his good looking picture.
Yeah. Nathan White, Summit Homes of Nevada. We want to say thank you for coming on, and we'll have you on again. You're not going anywhere, though, because we got some more things to talk about with new homes. We have strict new construction defects rules coming out targeting condos and townhomes.
And we talked about this.
Yep, condo and townhomes have had sales drop significantly in Las Vegas. Banks have tried to extend credit to consumers, but still have a hard time to get past litigation and occupancy restrictions associated directly really with condos. Townhomes I can get financed, but it's really condos. So the strict construction defect rules that took effect in February, very restrictive, will help shape the market for condominiums and townhomes that may help the recovery process and allow more leniency financing options for consumers. And I think that's important. What do you think about that, Chuck?
Well, I think it's going to make a big difference, because a lot of people right now that actually want to get into condos, if they're financing, they can't get in because of the litigations against the HOA. And remember, we talked about this last week, where there were scams in 2006, where from 2006 to 2012, there was an increase of 355% of lawsuits and litigations against the HOAs, and you had attorneys, judges, all involved in this stuff. So I think this is going to play a big part.
Nathan, since you're here, we're going to keep you around just for this segment. What do you think, and what have you seen about the effect on this?
The construction defect is always a concern for home builders, and we haven't built condos and townhomes for some time. But what I do know is that there's been a new bill passed, and that does help the industry in a lot of ways. In the past, attorneys would attach themselves to an HOA that, specifically on a condo or a townhome project, and then go through the whole construction defect lawsuit. Now there's been a new bill that's been passed that does allow the industry and subcontractors and the contractors to fix any defect that is out there. And that's really critical, because most time when there is any issue, that really the industry just wants to fix whatever that issue is. But with the previous way that it was taking place with attorneys and such, we weren't able to, and they were just going into the lawsuit.
And I think this is great, because from here on out, we're going to be able to finance on condos. And remember, not everybody is qualified for 215. People just want to get into a home or own a piece of something at, 60, 70, even at $80,000.
Well, these homes are really they're good for entry-level buyers, or maybe somebody downsizing.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have that 5 or 6, family unit that you have, and now you only have 2 people.
Yeah.
You got to look at the new home sales dropped for townhomes and condos from the 1990s average of 25% to 8% today. I think that's a big drop. That's huge. And why? It's because the defect litigation has caused a huge problem with offering financing with leniency to home buyers trying to buy condos. And we've addressed this before. It's not saying you can't go out and buy a condo, but there's definitely a lot more restrictions. You typically have to have a higher down payment, and you typically have to have a higher credit rating.
And you got to get qualified. Now, also what I noticed is investors are actually buying these condos, paying cash, and they're renting it out. And it's the second most desirable rentals, followed up by regular single-family residents. But now keep in mind that if you're an investor and you pay cash for this and you decide to sell it, you are going to run into some challenges as far as selling it, because you're going to minimize your demographics of who can buy the home.
Right.
Especially in today's market.
The resale value.
Exactly.
That's a big deal. Nevada defect laws saw their first big modification in 1996 when rules changed to guarantee plaintiffs and their attorneys not just actual damages, but also attorney fees, the cost of expert witnesses, and interest on those expenses. That's how homeowners facing $500 in costs might be rewarded $1,500 from those defects. And that's a big deal, because that's what really pushed financing and options away from condos primarily, because now they're looking at, well, I'm not going to go into a lawsuit or get litigation involved. Why do I want to do that? And buyers knew that, and they knew that there would really be no repercussion out of it.
And also the homeowners within that community loses out, because once there's a litigation against that HOA, what happens is, if they lose, what happens is somebody has to pay for those fees. Those fees are passed on to the subdivision, the homeowners.
Right.
That's not a good thing.
Condos and townhomes were especially vulnerable to defect claims because common areas and shared walls meant a flaw in one unit could be extrapolated to most of all units, meaning it's exposed to being connected.
Yeah.
And now you have litigation opportunities coming, and it just really caused havoc. It really caused a problem here. And I think most people, when you're out there looking and buying a condo at this point, even I've told them, investment condos, it's really tough to get done. It's not you can't do them. I can do them, but you're really getting a full review. Chances are it's falling out. Have you been dealing with that, Nathan?
Yeah, yes, one of the reasons that the new construction has dropped on condos also is because of this construction defect. There is builders that have shied away from this, and because of these exact reasons. And it's a shame, because there is a segment of the marketplace that would like to be able to buy and into one of these condo.
I mean, I think this would be good, because it would hold a standard to the condo builders.
It would, and I think that's why they're seeing what's going to come of this.
Yeah, and so hopefully this new bill will pass, will help builders want to build more condos, and lenders lend on condo projects.
Because I think they have a certain time now where they can, if there isn't a problem, they can address that problem and not have litigation get involved. So let's say it's that first 5 or 6 months that you're living in the home. Well, you might have a problem. Well, they can't come at you because I still got that window. But obviously you want to try to address any issues up front. That way there's nothing coming back through litigation. So let's go right into the lender versus realtor face-off. This is to help people in the market looking to get answers on financing and real estate. And these are some questions that we've actually dealt with. If you have any questions regarding anything that we talk about here, give us a call into the show to give us your take on what you experienced at 702-257-5396. So last week I had a client ask me, when you're married to someone that no longer lives in your home, now they live in a different country, okay, do I need to get that person, do I have to get a quitclaim deed, or do I need to divorce that person to purchase a home? And the answer is yes. Just because they live in another country, that does not mean it alleviates you from having to remove that person. And because you also got to look at it from the bank standpoint, that's a risk. Banks always look at risk involved in everything. And if you look at the situation that if you're with somebody that's living in another country, it's a high risk to a bank, because what happens if that person comes back and they say, hey, I want half of that home. I know you've been paying the payment, but you know what? I'm still married. Community property state here in Nevada. I want some of that home now.
But that's case by case, because if you can qualify yourself for a conventional loan, then you still can get a home. Am I correct?
Well, here's the deal. It's always a case by case, but if you look at the tax returns, and if you're putting that information on tax returns that you have somebody on there, you're checking off that you're married, that's going to come back at you. And I dealt with that last week. It was something that I needed really to address the situation. Now it's going to extend the close of escrow, because guess what? I wasn't told up front that this person wasn't living in that house. They're living in another country. And now if you're out there, you might have to get an extension, because that person has to get a consulate in that country and have that person sign off.
Does that happen to you a lot, where the consumer doesn't tell you everything?
It does. And if you're a consumer out there looking to purchase a home, I'll tell you right now, details are important. The more information is better. And I always highly recommend it. Even if I'm not your loan officer, do it to the loan officer you're working with.
Yeah.
I also had another situation where a buyer came in and tried to get financing after they were denied by a loan because they were trying to get it through their business. They had a contract that was accepted. I don't know who accepted that, but it was under LLC. And I said, listen, Nova Home Loans and myself does not provide business financing. We provide residential loans to people, but not to businesses. And they couldn't comprehend that. But if you're out there and you're thinking, well, I have a company or a business that has a ton of money, and I'm going to go make an offer on this property, and I'm going to get the contract accepted, and you go to a lender, you better find out if they can do business loans, because that's a big deal.
So you couldn't do like a PC, a personal corporation. It just has to be...
You can use it for qualifications, but the loan has to be under a person's name.
Got it.
Okay? It can't be under a business name.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people think they're going to do that to protect themselves.
Now, also what I've noticed is that sometimes what happens is when you purchase a home, you close on the home, they want to protect their assets, and then they'll roll it into an LLC or a livable or revocable trust. So you could do that too as well. So
that's
keep
true.
that in mind.
Also, another situation, this is a third thing that happened to me last week. I had a buyer come in into contract, but basically the buyer was approved, went to get the loan, and for whatever reason it fell out. Maybe the underwriter found something. Then they had another buyer come into play, but they're affiliated. Those two people know each other, and I found this out. And I'm saying, that could be a straw buyer. And what that is somebody that's really buying the house for somebody else to gain advantage of that home.
Yeah.
You better, if you're that person doing that, I mean, I can't deny you from getting a loan, but I can tell you that you better put all your ducks in a row. I said ducks. All right. Making sure that you have the ability to move into that property. And I don't go over there and I got Habib living over there.
Hey, seems like
I said, wait a second, I didn't give a loan to Habib. What happened to Joe?
Hey, seems like this week you had nothing but problems.
All about the problems. More problems, more money. Isn't that what it said? So if you guys have any questions about this show, we also give away things free to this show only.
Free.
Are you ready for the free things for this show only, Chad?
Always.
I like free.
We give a free CMA. Chuck, what's going on with that?
CMA is a comparable market analysis. If you're looking to buy or looking to sell, this will identify the value of that home.
Free appraisal, free home inspection. We tell you every week on the show. We have free credit services at Nova Home Loans. Take advantage of it. We had a guy call last week, James Jewell. If you're listening, I don't know if you are. We helped that guy from A to Z. He came in with subpar, a little bit lower credit than needed, started his credit process, got him into a loan, got him into a home, and now he's sipping on drinks over at his pool. And he doesn't invite us to come over. Free consultation every time, 30-minute consultation. I'll tell you right now, that's important. It's not going to be more than 30 minutes. Then I'm charging you. I'm just playing.
Free 99.
If it's more than 30 minutes, you can keep me for 2 hours. We just better have a lot of things to talk about. Also, free lunch for 2 to P.F. Chang's. That's for anybody out there that calls into the show. We also have going to give away a free special gift at the end of the year. All right. And we're going to bring this up next week, maybe possibly the following week on the show. But we have a special gift going on. So if you guys are listening to the show and you want a good opportunity to get into a home, maybe you need some help, we're going to put a package together for you to get this done. And I can tell you it's very, very, it's really going to be good for you. It's going to be beneficial to anybody out there that's really looking to buy a home. Also, I wanted to tell you that my competitors out there make it harder in a lot of cases to get home financing than it really is. My process is very streamlined. You come in, I'm already going to have an application typically on you because I really instruct people to go online and fill it out themselves. It's not saying I won't do it together, but a lot of people in this day, they like to have control. They like to do things quickly. The time span is not really there anymore as long as it has been. I mean, it's lower now. So people want control, and being online, you come in, you'll sit with me, 30 minutes. It's a very streamlined process. I'll have an approval letter out for you and your realtor really within the hour. And I want to tell everybody this. If you have a free mortgage assessment or you have any questions on your current loan or have any questions regarding the show, then you can call us outside studio at 781-6682. Remember, we put this show together for you to become smarter home buyers and smarter home shoppers. This is Dan French with Nova Home Loans. We want to say thank you for your listenership, and we'll talk to you next week.